How to build a payment method extension for Magento 2 open source or Adobe Commerce. This is today's video's topic. So as we can see, here is an example of a payment review and payments page on Magento latest version. And here is a payment method that is implemented, and we're going to see how it might be implemented for Magento 2. As we can see, we have here a title, form for changing billing information, card number, expiration date, card verification number with payment cards icons. And for instance, if I will type, it will highlight the correct one. And when we will place an order, it will successfully place order. So let's have a look how this can be implemented in terms of the source code and Magento 2 functionality. First, let's open Sources tab in a browser, and let's see JavaScript that is rendered on this page. So first of all, we have a folder, Magemastery payment.js view method renderer, and inside we have cc form.js file. And here we have a UI component that implements or extends existing UI component called cc form from Magento payment extension and adds additional functionality and logic that is unique for this particular payment method. For instance, here we define a custom template to render a payment method and the form, and we also define a payment method code, Magemastery_payment. It's a unique payment method that is used across the Magento 2 system. Also, we have some additional functions like getCode is active, getSelector, that's a method or function that is used for the validation purposes of this current form. Some custom logic for form validation, and getData function that is overridden from original component, from cc form component, that returns a method. So it's a method called Magemastery_payment and additional data. This information is sent via REST request and is processed by an observer. So observer in a Magento payment extension is a PHP class that is responsible for processing data that comes from a frontend, and we have to ensure that this data is correctly set for further processing inside Magento system. So let's go inside editor, and here I will show you. So this is inside appcode Magemastery payment. I have this payment extension example, and let's say here is an observer that is responsible. It's an observer that extends abstract data assign observer from Magento payment method, and it provides some constants and some additional, let's say, data object factory that is used. It's optional dependency. However, I use this dependency in order to create an instance of additional data, and this additional data then can be used as an object to get this data via getData method. So here in execute method, we read additional data, we read payment info. It's an object that is then used in the system, and we assign this additional data to this object. As we can see, some of the values are assigned directly to set data, and some of the values are assigned to additional information. Not all data that is assigned here in this observer are going to be stored in a database table because it's not secure to store sensitive data such as CC number or expiration month, year, or this field that is CCSCID. That's why it's required for payment processing. However, it's required not to store this data in a database table. That's why it's set to set data. However, when it comes to additional information field, this field is going to be used for processing this information that is stored with the help of this method and stored inside the database table that is called sales quote payment and sales order payment. So this is an observer that is used to set data from storefront to PHP. Then this data then processed by payment adapter, and payment adapter is a second important thing when it comes to implementing payment integration. And this payment adapter, the first entry point of this payment adapter or mention is inside config.xml file. So every payment method that is implemented inside as a Magento 2 extension requires this config.xml file that defines additional configuration settings for a payment method. So as we can see, we use the same magemastery_payment code as we use on a storefront, and this is a reference that is used across all the payment extension, where we define title, whether or not this method is active, what action has to be performed when we place order. So usually it's authorize capture or just authorize. And the difference between these two is that when a payment is authorized, it's just bank will hold the transaction on a customer's card. And authorize and capture, it's not only holding, but also capturing or getting this money from a customer to a merchant's bank account. And then most important thing is a model. So it's a adapter or configuration for this adapter that is responsible for processing different actions and operations within this payment method. Also, there are additional configuration settings that are responsible for giving information whether or not this payment method can capture payment, can authorize payment, whether this payment method can be used internally in admin panel, whether it can be used in checkout, can use checkout, whether we can order with this payment method, and whether it's a payment gateway, online or offline. Payment info keys that are used for showing this information in admin and in customer account, and credit card types. So it's this supported icons that are rendered here on a storefront. So let's go back to model. Model is a set of configuration settings so basically it's a virtual type. And in order to understand what is hidden behind this name, model, we can go to the XML file, and this is 80% of time a Magento developer will spend when implementing payment integration. And as we can see, we have virtual type that uses Magento payment model method adapter, and it configures different arguments for this particular payment method, such as payment method code, value handler pool, command pool, and two blocks, form block and info block. So let's have a look at the value handler pool. When value handler pool is also a virtual type that extends Magento payment gateway config value handler pool class. It's not an extension, it's a configuration of an existing class. However, when we instantiate this class, we provide custom dependencies or custom arguments into a construct method during instantiation. That's why it's a virtual type. And instead of creating a custom child class for this class or building our own class, we just use dependency injection in Magento 2 in order to configure a virtual type, an object, custom object that is based on this type. And here we provide handlers for reading configuration for this particular payment method. So as we can see, it's another virtual type called config value handler. And if I will go down, this value handler is based on gateway config value handler PHP class. And here we provide config interface. It's a dependency, custom dependency that is responsible for reading configuration data for our payment method and from this config.xml file and database. That's why this config value handler uses custom so-called config object that is virtual type again. And this virtual type is based on a config PHP class where we provide method code Mage Mastery payment. Also, a small remark for this Mage Mastery payment, we can define a constant in a PHP class, and we can use, instead of a string, we can use a constant here. But using constants is not something I would prefer for this example, and just pretty straightforward that it's a method code and not a PHP constant. But you can also use a constant here and use a PHP constant, so you can provide a full class name plus a constant name in order to use and provide method code or payment method code. Then we have, so this is a value handler pool. Then we have to define command pool. Command pool, it's a list of commands that are responsible for processing different actions and operations depending on what command is triggered by a user, whether it's checkout, place an order, or whether it's refunding an order in admin panel by user. So a command pool is a class, or as we can see, virtual type that is based on command pool class that defines, in this scenario and for this example, two commands, capture command and authorize command. So Magento payment module provides a few implementations for commands, and one of the implementation is a null command. So it's basically a command that performs nothing and returns nothing. It's successful execution of this command with the name capture or authorize. And basically what you can do, you can, let's say, mock a command that is triggered on a specific operation. Let's say you are performing a checkout and you are placing order. Alternatively, there is a gateway command that you can use in order to implement payment integration with a payment service provider and implement that command in the way that it will communicate prepared request data and process response data with additional validation of that response. So it's a gateway command. Or custom commands that you can provide here or in any other commands or custom commands you can specify in this command pool and assign to your payment adapter. And also we have form block type. Form CC block is used as a non-customized version of a form block. And info block type, it's a virtual type as we can see. And this virtual type uses configurable info from Magento payment module. It's a block that uses a custom config virtual type in order to read configuration for this particular payment method. So this is an example of a payment configuration for adapter for this particular payment method. Also, what else do we need to have? We also need to have events.xml file that assigns our observer, data assign observer PHP class to be triggered on the event that is called payment method assign data, and we also provide as a suffix our payment method code, so it will be triggered only for our payment method on a checkout. And we have a name of an observer configuration and an instance that is going to be triggered. On the etc admin HTML system XML, here is an example of configuration settings. So it's a new tab that is added to configuration settings called Mage Mastery, and new section called Payment, where you provide all necessary configuration fields, and these fields can be wrapped into groups. So here in example, I have one group with 3 fields. So it's a group called General Settings, and we have configuration for active configuration with the source model yes, no, and path that is going to be used to set data into core config data, title, and payment method. And if we will open model system config payment action, we use this payment action as a class that implements option source interface, and this class returns a list of allowed payment actions for the system configuration. And etc frontend DI XML configuration, as we can see, we have Magento payment model CC generic config provider. It's every payment method extension that would like to use a generic config provider for credit cards should define additional method code. As we can see, we add our custom method code, magemastery_payment, in order for the additional configuration to be rendered on a checkout page. And finally, we have view frontend layout configuration. It's checkout index.xml, where inside, so we have JS layout, inside billing step, payment, renders. Here we have our custom section with a method called code magemastery_payment, where we define our custom component, JS view renderer, and additional configuration saying that for the method magemastery_payment, we would like to set configuration setting is billing address required equals true, and without this configuration, checkout will just be broken. So it's important to provide this configuration as well. This component is a UI component that is responsible for. So this component is located inside view frontend web.js view renderer.js, and this UI component that is defined in the layout file is responsible for adding our method renderer CC form component into the list of components that is a payment renderer list. And that's it. And providing a type. So basically it's payment method code again. And That's the responsibility of this renderer. And inside, we already discussed this one. This one is rendered on a storefront and renders form for our payment method. It's a CC form and template for the CC form. So we provide here a template, and template can be found in web template payment cc-form.html. It's a form that provides some additional knockout template rendering, some extension points where we can render messages, billing form, additional information, and fields that are input fields for the payment form with additional validation requirements that can be used when we click place order button. And at the end, we also have a button place order with additional logic that refers to our custom CC-form.js UI component plus all the logic and functions that are defined inside Magento payment.js view payment CC-form UI component. And on the storefront, when we will get back to the checkout payment page, we will click place order, and we can see that we've successfully placed order with the payment method that we just reviewed. And moving forward, if you would like to implement integration between your payment method extension and payment service provider, I have an online course on magemastery.net website, Magento 2 Payment Gateway online course, that walks you through the implementation and integration with the payment service provider, where you can implement PCI compliant and secure payment integration and learn along the way different Magento techniques and best practices on how to implement payment methods. There are lots of video lessons in this payment course. So if you would like to learn more and implement payment method, feel free to check this page, and you can become a professional payment integrator when it comes to Magento 2 platform. Feel free to comment below this video. If you have any questions related to payment method extensions that we've reviewed, please let me know in the comments below this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.